Welcome back, brothers, to another great one. Good to see you guys. What you see here is the last video. This one was on the art of semen retention. On this one, I talked about the benefits, and I categorized them into 4 pillars: physical, mental, sexual, and spiritual. Now, at the end of the video, I was planning on describing how to actually do this practice correctly, because it is a skill, it is a practice, it is an art, right? However, the video ended up being way longer than I thought it would be, so I thought it would be fit to make it its own video. So here you are today. Gonna go ahead and erase this live for you and get going on the next great one. Shit. I actually jumped ahead of myself here. I really quick want you guys to take a note of this and look at all the benefits, right? Physically, we got testosterone boost, more energy, less sleep need, more attractive. Mentally, we have you naturally by default choose growth over instant gratifications. And go ahead and look at the comment sections of my last videos. You'll hear a bunch of people saying this is 100% true. I realize all of these things when I went on SR. More self-respect. You don't carry on that shame for what you do in the dark. Less validation seeking, better dopamine. When you masturbate and ejaculate, you release prolactin, which is inversely related with dopamine, which causes a huge dopamine plummet and trains your brain to feed into that cycle. So better dopamine, more creativity. Here we got your sexual discipline and mastery is going to be increased. This is like the whole point of the practice. Better connection to partner, more polarity, high libido, better sex. Watch the video if you want to hear my breakdown of that. Spiritual, we got insane aura boost. This one was one of my favorite. People just start to look at you. People want to be around you. You feel your own aura boost. You feel your eyes are sharper. Your energy is stronger. Better intuition and moral clarity. More purpose driven. More connected to God and more abundant. Right? I can assure you these are all benefits. Again, go watch that other video if you want more of a breakdown. Now, to get these benefits, we actually have to be able to do the practice. And that is why you're here. It's more than just abstaining from porn and masturbation. There's a lot more that goes into it. And that's why this is specifically semen retention and not just no fap. There are 2 different things. Semen retention is mastery over your sexual energy. That's what we're learning here. All right, mastering sexual energy. Let's cook now. So I want you guys to put in perspective what actually happens at its core root when you are on semen retention, right? Essentially, what you're doing is you are retaining the force that is responsible for procreation, that's responsible for sex drive, that's responsible for libido, for creating a human life, right? Now, when this energy gets retained instead of shot out the body, you start to build it within you. And I want you guys to kind of see this life force as a spiritual, creative energy, whereas hormones and neurochemistry is more of the biological energy, right? Now, this spiritual energy is responsible for that spark we have, for that aura we have, right? So is your hormone and neurochemistry, but if someone really has that spark, right, that chi, that life force within them, that is that spiritual energy I'm talking about, right? So we all have different levels of it at any given time. So as you start to retain, this energy starts to shoot up and this battery starts to fill up. Now, this is only half of the battle. And this is going to explain why some people end up filling their battery but feeling worse, because the mastery really comes with transmutation, right? As this battery fills, overall, this is a good thing, right? But this is energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted, and in this case, shot out of the body. And so if we are not transmuting it and we are not shooting it out of the body, it is going to turn to lust. It is going to turn to stagnation. And that is when you add the other aspect, which is the flow, right? The flow of your energy, the transmutation of your energy. Amongst these 2 things, the best life you can possibly have is one when your battery is fully filled with sexual energy, but at the same time, it is in constant motion. It is moving, it is being transmuted, right? If your battery is too high, but you have no flow, you are going to feel stagnant, anxious, and you are going to be lusting all the time and feeling the need for release. It's going to be uncomfortable. If you have no battery, the flow doesn't even matter because there's no tangible energy for you to work with. Now, when we are able to visualize this system, we are also able to point out where the charge comes from and how to transmute. At the same time, we're able to point out where the drains come from and where the stagnation comes from. So give me a second, I'm gonna write those down. We have builds, drains, stagnates, and transmute, right? These 2 are responsible for either filling or draining the battery, and these 2 are responsible for either increasing the flow or stagnating the flow, right? You need both. Let's first get into drains, right? We'll leave the fun part for last, right? Bad news first. Okay, so drains. These are going to be things that lower your chi, lower your life force, dim the spark in your eye. All the benefits that I showed you in the beginning of the video are going to dampen all of those things, right? So the drains, garbage food. If you're not fueling your vessel correctly, the battery is not going to be able to recharge, right? This is such a simple one. Just eat high quality, whole, Jing-full foods. Maybe I'll make a full video on high chi foods, but I definitely recommend using a plant-based approach here. Foods have vibrations to them, right? If you're eating the dead flesh of an animal, especially if it was a factory farm animal, if it went through a full life of just suffering, abuse, having its babies taken, right? Pumped with hormones, etc. And then you consume that dead flesh, that's gonna be awful for your vibration. It's gonna drain your life force. And then stay away from added sugars and try to limit your refined carbs. Next is going to be ejac, right? This is easily the biggest strain. This is easily the biggest hole in the bucket. When you ejaculate and when you orgasm, that spasm you feel, that wave of energy coming out of your body, right? That is a huge drain of your energy. Now, this is the natural path the sexual energy takes. Sexual energy gets built up, no transmutation happens, so we shoot it out the body. Sexual energy gets built up, no transmutation happens, we shoot it out the body. Next is going to be negative thinking, right? Mental hygiene, guys. If you are paying attention, giving energy towards these negative thoughts, that is 100% going to drain you. I mean, look at your life when you're focusing on the positives, focusing on the opportunities, the benefits, versus focusing on all the negatives. It does a crazy transformation to your energy. Stagnation. Lust is going to be the biggest one here, right? This is why people have so much trouble sticking to the practice, is because, hey, I'm gonna commit to the semen retention thing. Now that my sexual energy is higher, I'm fantasizing about all these chicks, all the positions I'm gonna put them in, and watching softcore porn on Instagram, right? And so what do you think that's gonna do to your energy? If it's going up here and it's turning into lust, it's gonna feel the need to release, right? So that's gonna be the biggest stagnator. In order to combat this, guys, just don't entertain the thought. Thoughts are always going to rise, right? You can't control them arising. You know, the less pornography and softcore porn you're consuming, the less they'll naturally arise. But when they do arise, it is your choice to be able to see it and say, hey, I'm not going to entertain that. I'm not going to think about all the different positions, get in a trance of lust, which leads to ejaculation or just feeling awful, right? So that's how you beat lust, guys. And meditation, mindfulness meditation is a great tool for this, because that trains your mind to be able to look within and see the thoughts before they take control. Next is gonna be sedentariness, right? This one's huge. If you're not moving your body, what do you even need the energy for, brother? Right? If you're just sitting there in a chair all day, you're not getting any exercise, right? This is going to make you feel extremely stagnant. You have to get movement, right? Movement, dancing, exercises are our body's way of expressing energy. So you gotta move. Next is gonna be too much comfort. Too much comfort is just gonna abuse your dopamine system, get your brain in the pattern of seeking instant gratification versus long-term fulfillment, which is inevitably going to lead back to relapse. Next, we got scrolling. This ties right into dopamine, but what scrolling really does, what a good reel or a short or what do they call the TikTok ones? What's the name for a TikTok shorts? YouTube shorts, Instagram reels, and TikTok? A TikTok video? Whatever. Anyways, when you're, whatever a good reel does is it creates emotion. And when you're tossed to one motion, to the next, to the other, it's very addicting and it's gonna keep you scrolling, but what it's doing is creating a hodgepodge of neurochemistry in here and different emotions in your body, which is hugely stagnating, right? Last but not least is any of the deadly seven sins. Greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride, gluttony, lust. I didn't repeat any of those. Those are all lower desires, right? Those are all desires of the flesh, selfish desires. And every time you feed into the flesh, you get more away from the spirit, more away from the flow, right? So this is gonna have your battery all the way down here, is going to have your flow usually stagnating mostly in your head. You're gonna be in your head instead of your body expressing this life force, right? So that's what a man who follows this life looks like, right? Which is not too uncommon in our day and age. The best for last, brothers. Okay, so we got this guy on the other hand, right? This guy's Joe, right? This guy's me now when I'm on a streak, when I'm dialed in, okay? So for the building, now these things are gonna charge our battery, charge our life force, our chi, our prana, our jing, our energy, our life force, whatever you want to call it. First and foremost, SR. This is going to be the base. This is going to be the base of where you get your sexual energy from, right? Right when you masturbate, right when you ejaculate, you get the drain, then your body goes to work to start to slowly but surely build that life force back up, right? So this is the biggest one. Next is gonna be healthy diet. Just the opposite of the shit food, right? You want to be nourishing your body. I love things like goji berries. This weather is sick, by the way. That's why I'm filming it right here. Things like goji berries, herbs are great, which I have another one right here. You got Tonkat Ali, Sistanch. What else we got? Ashwagandha is pretty good. You got ginseng is a big one. These are huge in Eastern medicine. Personally, I don't see a huge benefit with these. Some people see more of an anecdotal benefit than I do. I overall definitely do notice when I'm on my herbs, I feel a little more chi in my body, all right? Next is gonna be sunlight. The sunlight is like plugging ourselves in. It's like a Bluetooth charger for human bodies, right? You stand there looking at the sun, skin touching the sun, and your battery is just going, phenomenal, right? Get sunlight. That's why depression rates, testosterone rates go through the roof in the winter, right? We're just not getting sunlight, but it's March now, brothers. April's coming up. Then we got summer, we got abundance. Next, mental hygiene, not gonna go too deep into this. It's the opposite of negative thinking, right? Mental hygiene, do not allow, just like the lust, do not allow these thoughts to infiltrate you, right? See them if they arise. Sometimes you can't control of having an intrusive negative thought, but you're able to control whether you follow it down the path and let it drain your energy, okay? Next, transmute. Now this is where a lot of people I feel like are gonna benefit from this video, is the transmutation. Transmutation is the core, right? Not only is transmutation gonna make you feel better when you're on SR, it's also going to allow you to keep the streak, right? A huge reason for relapse is when that energy is stagnant, right? When it goes to the head, when it goes up here to the mental, it needs to come out. And so if we can keep that energy flowing, we can stay on a long streak, which means our battery gets raised even more, which means we can put more into our purpose, right? Into building ourselves as individuals, conquering kingdoms, right? So here's how we do it, all right? These are just some ways that you can transmute, my favorite ways, right? First and foremost, I'm gonna cover Qigong before MMA. Qigong is the biggest one. This is one that is completely missing in the Western world, right? Qigong is an Eastern practice, right? This has a lot of overlay with Tai Chi, just kind of different names, but the specific Qigong practice that's going to be the best is going to be the microcosmic orbit, right? What the microcosmic orbit is, essentially follows what the West called the nervous system. Throughout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Now these 5 different points have plenty of names: acupuncture points, meridian points. What matters is that you can tangibly feel the energy in these points when you learn these practices, right? So right here you have the perineum. This is going to be in between the balls and the arse, right? Then you have the solar plexus right here. Solar plexus is this little divot right here. Then you have the crown of the head, right? The third eye, right at the top of your head. You have the jade pillow. If you feel the back of your neck, right where your spine and your skull meet, that's gonna be the jade pillow. That's the one I feel strongest personally. It's not the same for everyone. And finally, you have a point right between the shoulder blades right here, right? This completes the orbit. Now different practices add different points from the throat to the belly button. Doesn't really matter, right? These 5 are gonna be the core point. I promise I'm going to get an instructional video up, but I just wanna show you the premise here.
Brothers, but I do want to announce that in between the making and posting of this video, my brother did make a quick instructional video, give you more of a deep understanding on this. So I'd go watch that right after this one, but back to the program.
Right? So what you are doing is you are moving the energy through 2 meridians. One is going on an exhale, you're going through the back of the body. And then on the inhale, you are channeling that energy up through the front of the body, passing along each of these meridian points, right? And it looks like this. This is the full microcosmic orbit. Now, this is just a picture to you right now, but I want you to imagine this, right? When you are overthinking, whether this is in a social situation in your own life, if you have to perform for something, there's a lot of pressure on you, you are in your head, you're thinking about things, right? And this often messes up your performance and quality of life. When you are in flow state, right? When you feel like you're doing something naturally, or you feel super confident, you're not thinking, you're not in your head. Reason being is your energy is in a flow. Now you might not be tangibly or consciously moving the energy through these points, but what is happening is your energy is moving. What this specifically does is it takes the points and channels in the body where the energy is stored, and it teaches you how to consciously move this energy when it gets stuck. And I know this might sound woo-woo, but I would not be telling you guys this unless it had transformative effects for me, my brother, my clients, and people who try it. And it makes perfect sense when you look at it as batteries and you think about how when you feel in flow state, you're in your body instead of your head. To master this practice, you will progressively get better at feeling the points and eventually get progressively better at doing the flow until you can go out in your daily life here, and whether you're talking to a chick, doing a business presentation, exercising, doing MMA, whatever it may be, get yourself in that flow state, ground yourself in your energy, right? But that's only possible if we have a good charge, right? This stuff is life-changing. I promise you. This one especially helped me with social anxiety, especially chicks, right? Before I learned how to do this, my energy would be completely in my head. And instead of being present, being cool, calm, relaxed, confident, they sensed it. They sensed I was up in my head, anxious, trying to respond to make myself look cool, versus when I had a good charge of abundant energy and I was able to have a nice flow, be calm, right? Be in flow state, be smooth. Night and day difference in my dating life and in my ability to talk to women, okay? Quick note, you do not want to talk how I talk on these whiteboard videos to women. You want to talk more how I was just talking a second ago, which is just calm, relaxed, centered. You want them to be able to ground their energy in you. They feel like they can be calm in your presence because you hold it down in yourself, right? That's going to be huge. Next, we got MMA and exercise in general. With exercise, this is going to be the simplest way to transmute energy, and it's just going to have so many benefits on your mental health, on your hormone, on your neurochemistry, on your physique, on your attraction from women, on your respect from men, right? On your quality of life. Please go to the gym, brother, right? If you do not feel like you are equipped with the right education, or you do not feel like you can be consistent hit me up, right? This is what I do. I get brothers in shape. I make it impossible for my brothers not to get the physiques they want, as long as they want it as bad as I want it for them, with results like this, and this. Do not just look at the physique, look at the aura. Because of a multitude of things like this, they are applying to their life. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and book a one-on-one call in the description. But let's keep going. To finish off with exercise, brothers, you have to do it, right? It could be the gym, it could be MMA, it could be pickleball for all I care. You have to get moving, right? MMA and the gym end up being my favorite because they translate to the most real world benefits. And quick note on MMA, in the MMA culture, semen retention is a very, very well-known practice because MMA is a very spiritual, physical, and mental mastery over the self if you want to be successful at it. You'll even find a comment on my last post of an MMA fighter describing how when he would fight off semen retention versus fight on semen retention, there was a night and day difference. Next is cold exposure. This is a great tool to kill the lust. If you're ever feeling too much lust, feel like you've been edging too much, hop in that cold shower. For some reason, it's just very effective at killing the lust, right? Next, we have hard work. And in this one, I want to include purpose, right? This is going to be like, this one's pretty abstract, but this is going to include a lot of things. A lot of your ability to actually want to be on semen retention is going to be so you can move forward in your purpose, so you can grow as a man, right? And so we have 16 hours a day and you're not meditating, eating, doing MMA and exercise for all those 16 hours. And so what do, right? A lot of people will by default go to these things, but if we have a purpose, right? If we have something we are putting our energy into, this can even be a job. Ideally, it's commission-based, so your effort actually matters. But if you have a purpose that you can put this energy into that will make you grow as an individual, you are golden. When I started SR, a month later, I dropped out of college because I wasn't growing there. About 6 months later, I ended up opening my own state clean out business. After that, I ended up doing door-to-door sales. After that, I ended up trying some online businesses that didn't really work, to teaching in-person training, to also now coaching the method, right? The reason I did so many things is because I had so much energy and wanted growth so fast. And so if I stopped getting growth from one business or one avenue, like door-to-door sales, I felt like I got my sales skills down. So I was like, okay, what's next? I want to learn how to coach. Right, I want to get in the gym. Okay, I got good at in-person coaching. Now I want to challenge myself to share my knowledge with the world. That only happens because I am charged and I want that energy to be moving. Right, after I ejaculate, that same force that's responsible for me doing all those things gets dampened. Okay? Okay, next we got breath work. The way you breathe heavily affects your chi and your transmutation, right? We can go days, sometimes even weeks, people even months without food. We can go days, sometimes even weeks without water. Can't go very long without air, brother. Air is very nourishing to us. Air is more essential than even food and water and sunlight. We need it. It charges us. And the specific way you are intaking the air and the type of air you are intaking, which is less in your control, heavily affects the way you get energy from it, right? In summary, deeper breaths, the better. Right? Deeper breaths are just going to make you in a calm state. Unless you need to be hyped up, amped up, adrenaline up, shorter breaths make sense, but 99% of the time, you want to be breathing deep and controlled, right? When you take long, deep exhales, you calm your nervous system down. You do not need your nervous system to be very active unless you are exercising or doing a mentally invigorating task. Make sense? And there's infinite breathwork techniques. I like pranayama, box breathing, Wim Hof method. They all have different cases. I don't think one is better than others. Try them all out. Last thing I will say about breathing is you do not want to be mouth breathing, right? You probably heard about mewing, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Regardless, nasal breathing is so much better for your lungs, for your breathing, and for your facial structure. Reason being is if you are mouth breathing, your jaw hangs down like this. You want your tongue to be on the roof of your mouth, head up, chest up, good posture, right? And breathing deeply, especially the inhales through the nose. I literally had the word nasal breathe on my screensaver for about 6 months after I learned the benefits of nasal breathing. If you don't naturally nasal breathing, I do recommend wearing some mouth tape at night to get your body used to it, because this will just train your nervous system to nose breathe more. All right, boom, got it done. I ranted way harder than I thought I was, but I don't think it's gonna turn out bad. So to summarize, if I could leave you with some points. Number one, we need to charge the battery. Semen retention does this charging. Where the mastering sexual energy comes in is learning how to transmute. If you have a high sexual charge, but you're doing these stagnating things, you are not going to feel good and you are going to relapse. Now, when you relapse, and you will, it's inevitable, even I do time to time, you want to take that period of reflection, that lustless period where the prolactin is spiked and you have the post-nut clarity, to reflect on why. You can see the world without any of the lust. Now, you're not in an energetically charged state, but your mind is clearer because that stagnating lustful energy is now out of your system. So reflect. I have a lot of my guys who struggle with lust fill out a sheet after they relapse, which says time of the fall, reason of the fall, what were you doing before, how did you feel after, any reflection, etc. So we can identify the demon, right? So that's really important. Now, the best version of yourself is going to be you actively retaining while also building your energy through these things and transmuting it through these, right? Just imagine what you could do if you do not waste this sexual energy. Imagine what you can do for your physique, for your finances, for your relationships, confidence, right? Fighting ability, sexual discipline, right? All of it. Semen retention is going to be your fuel for this, and this is how you do the practice correctly, right? I'm going to drop a Qigong video coming up here soon. Follow if you haven't already. Got more great content coming out. I love you guys so much, and let's keep it going, brothers. Stay away from the demons of lust.